Greetings, students. Today I thought I'd go through one complete cycle of Music Profile Assignment 1, which requires you to make a drum beat in Studio One. Let's check it out. So the first step is to put in all the details. So I'll use the name drum beat sequence. And then, very important, point Studio One to the folder you set up on the desktop of the computers in 121 and select the Studio One folder. That way everything you create will be saved safely into that folder. The rest of the parameters are fine, 44.1, 16 bits. Click OK. This takes you to a brand new project in Studio One. Go to the bottom right hand corner, click on Browse, and click on the sub menu called Instruments, and then open up the Personas menu. And what we want is this first virtual instrument, which is the drum machine plugin called Impact. Drag it on over and select a drum set. I'm going to use Acoustic Kit Multi-Layer. And if you play the kick and snare, it gives you a good idea of the nature of that drum set. Okay, here in the arranger, I'm going to zoom in so that we can look nice and close at the first measure. Make this fatter. And if we put the mouse right in the middle of that first measure, not as the plus sign, but as the arrow, notice how that changes halfway down through the channel. So here's that drum machine channel I just added. And then here is its blank space in the arranger. Halfway up, it's plus sign. That's a multi-tool that we don't want at this moment. We want the arrow. Double click, and you get a nice measure long event. We can close the browser, and we can double click on that event, and that brings up the editor. And then notice here on the left we have the drum set's annotations. There's the bass drum, there's a rim shot, there's a snare, tom-tom, closed hi-hat, cymbal crash. What we're going to do is add a real simple drum beat. So first we're going to change the quantize value to eighth notes, so it's nice and simple to sequence. I might zoom in a little tighter, and I'm going to put a kick drum on 1 and a snare drum on 2, and then another kick drum on 1, and I'm just double clicking in the editor, and it's adding what it corresponds to here on the left. So here's where it says snare drum. Notice that I'll stay on the exact same horizontal and add it to beat 4. 1.4, that's where the snare goes. 1.3, that's where the kick goes. 1.2, that's also where the snare goes. And on 1.1, the kick. And then the closed hi-hat ties the room together. So throw one of those in on 1, and if you press the button D, it duplicates it. And go all the way to the and of 4. Don't go any further, otherwise you'll hemorrhage the measure. Watch this. Right? Bad. Look how you've gone beyond 2. That's not what we're doing here. We're sequencing in measure long boxes. Notice that anything that I put in here stopped at 2. It's easiest to learn how to sequence in measure long boxes when you were beginning. Okay, so there's my 1 measure drum beat. That's what it sounds like. If I click on it so that it highlights light blue and it gets this light blue perimeter, now it's selected. And if I press D to duplicate, now I have 4 of those. Let's double click between measure 5 and 6 and start a new event and sequence a variation. Let's keep the kick drum on 1 and the snare on 2. But on beat 3, let's do a variation with the kick drum. Let's put it on 3 and the and of 3. The and of 3 is fancy music speak for halfway between beat 3 and beat 4. There's an eighth note in between, since we have our quantize value set to eighth notes. And then we're going to put a snare drum on 4. And similar to the last sequence, we'll add a hi-hat on the eighth notes, ties the room together. And then back in the arranger, we'll make that happen 4 times. Now we have 2 parts of our song. Let's make this part happen 8 times. Let's make this part happen 3 more times for a total of 4. So now we have 8 complete measures. We can set our loop indicator for 32 measures, which is our destination. And let's do some arranging. Maybe after that second variation, we can add the first part so that it returns. So here's a keyboard command. I think on a Macintosh, it's the Clover or Options key. On Windows, it's Alt. I hold Alt, I click on the event, and I drag it over, and it makes a duplicate. So it left it to where it was, and it also made a copy where I drug it to. Let's make that happen 4 times. A lot of music proceeds in 4-measure sequences. How about here at measure 17? Let's sequence one more variation. Maybe this is the song's breakdown. So let's make kick drums steady all the way across on the quarter notes. Right, so on beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, and beat 4. Let's put this snare on the end of 3. That might be neat. And let's tie it all together with a hi-hat that goes across in 8 notes. Let's make that 4 times. And then let's bring our second variation over. Make it happen 4 times. Bring our first variation over. Make it happen 4 times. And maybe let's end the song with this breakdown figure. And let's get that so that at measure 32 is the end. 32 bars is a standard issue for a pop song format, especially in the jazz idiom. So now what we have, if we look at the totality of what I just sequenced, so we have a little song arrangement that has 3 different drum parts. So you don't have to sequence a million different drum parts, and they don't have to be very difficult or fancy. It's nice and simple, works best. Okay, I'm going to press Control A, that highlights everything, and then P puts the loop indicator over the entire project. Down here in the transport panel, I'll click Return to 0 and press play. We can check out the whole sequence. Little change up, snare sound. Back to the first beat. Might want to go to the mixer. I think the hi-hat's a little loud. Might be a little smoother if it's in the background. Here's that bridge. And back to the second beat. And then the first beat, snare sound change. And breakdown for the outro. Okay. It doesn't have to be too fancy. Remember, it's the process of sequencing and running a whole cycle, not the artistic merit of what you sequence. You'll have to spend many hours tooling around to try to get a nice, pleasant sounding song structure. But here's the next step. Let's save, make sure that we don't lose anything. And now we're going to export the mix down. So the preliminary step is to make sure that you're not peaking. So the track at no point is causing the channel faders to go into a red line. Let me demonstrate. Yeah, look what happened. 32 decibels over the capabilities of the equipment. That's called a peak or a clip. So notice what I did, I turned that channel down. It's the snare. And we should be good. No peaking. We'll do more with this mastering business and mixing business later in the semester, but for right now, your goal is to make sure that it doesn't peak. Okay, so once you've made sure that there are no peaks, You have your channels balanced how you like them. You have your loop over top of your material. Go to the song menu, go to Export Mixdown. Name it Drum Beat, or if you have some special name, Ultimate Beat of Devastation, whatever suits your fancy. So name it, point it to your folder, so go to the ellipses. My folder's on my desktop, there's my name, Computer Music Technology folder, and then go to Audio, storing this audio file. Make sure export range is between loop, click OK, and beep, beep, boop, it just made me an audio file. So I can check, I'll go into my folder. Lo and behold, there it is. All right, the next step is to bring Studio One back up and configure your screen so that it looks cool. You can see the mixer, say, or if you want the editor up instead. And using the screen capturing tool on the Mac, I forget what it's called, but on Windows, it's the snipping tool. There's something exactly like this on Macintosh. All right, and then whenever it allows you to select the screen, aim for a square shape, and I'll tell you why presently. But let's go for something like this. It looks pretty neat. See the sequence I made, and then go to the desktop. We're going to save this to our images folder or pictures folder, however you labeled it. And this is the same name as the song. It's the drum beat. It's a picture of the drum beat. All right, let's check out that picture I just made, images. And I'm going to open it with the resident photo editor. All right, so the ultimate destination for this is our online platform. I'm using Bandcamp, which requires that the pictures that correspond to your songs are resized to 1400 pixels. Do something precisely like this on a Macintosh. So I just unchecked maintain aspect ratio, chose pixels 1400 by 1400. There might be some slight distortion, but if you aimed for a square sized screen capture, it should be good. And then make sure you resave. All right, so now in summary, we have our drum beat sequence Studio One file itself. We have a picture of our screen of the project, and we have an audio file. 1, 2, 3. So for every project you make, you should have 3 files saved. And here's the last step. I'm going to go to your profile. Here's my Bandcamp page. It's got 2 albums already. I'm going to start a new album by going to Add, Album. And this album will be CMT Spring 2021. And we're going to upload that picture that we just took of our screen. It's inside the images folder. So it accepts it because it's the right size. Now we're going to add a track. And we're going to go to our audio folder. That's what Bandcamp is, or SoundCloud. It's hosting audio files. So make sure that's clear in your mind. You're not uploading the Studio One file. Bandcamp won't know what to do with that. So we want audio. Notice that it accepted it. You can put in the name, drum beat. Let's turn off enable track purchase. Okay, very important. Also upload the track art, which now will be the same picture. Eventually you'll probably want to change the album picture so that it's not this same picture of the screen of the drum beat. I just did that for expediency's sake. You should get some sort of album picture. Maybe get your phone out, take some pictures, see what you like, and then upload it to your album cover. There's also space for a banner. All right, to get complete credit for this assignment, you must also give me a few sentences about this track. All right, so we've uploaded our audio, it shows a picture, and then we wrote in the about this track text field, and then we can save the draft or you can publish. The difference is you can return and edit and add more songs, but it's not available on the internet yet. But if you publish, it will be available on the internet. All right. That, in a nutshell, is the entire process for the first music profile assignment, which is the drum beat sequence. And we began that work in class. Okay, please take care of this and let me know if you have any questions.